Yesterday was a game that I've been waiting for a very long time. You guys know that I've always been an advocate of using three in midfield and having our key attacking players freed out wide. And yesterday I think the proof was absolutely in the pudding. We showed intensity, we played very vertically as well too. We created a variety of attacking opportunities as well too, which is quite rare for us, and we absolutely dominated Tottenham. In today's What We Learned video, I'll be discussing and analysing Ziyech, Mason Mount, why Tuchel used a 4-1-4-1, and how exactly the system worked yesterday and the key players that made it happen. I hope you guys enjoy. Of course, I've released a news daily video. Stay tuned for that. It was a big one. And without wasting any more time, now it's only right that we start things off by discussing Ziyech, and I think it's quite clear to see why that smile has now returned back to his face. Yesterday's performance, for me, this is the game I've been waiting for from Ziyech, and I knew that it wouldn't come easy because it was a 50-50 thing. It required Ziyech having to adapt to the system, and it required the system adapting to the full skill set that Ziyech can provide. It was nice to see him returning back to a position in which he used to playing under Frank Lampard, and last night I think it clearly demonstrated the threat, the unique threat that Ziyech can play when playing down that right hand side. He had some impressive stats last night. 97 touches was the most touches out of any outfield player on the field. He played 34 balls in the final third as well too. He ranked #1 for shots, chance creation, crosses, dribbles, and of course possessions won in the final third, because this is a player that can put in that dirty work, dropping deeper, and of course counter pressing as well. Now, one thing that Ziyech has always needed is that movement around him. Creative players, they need that. Ziyech has the ability to find anyone from anywhere, so the more runners in the team, the more useful and resourceful Ziyech is going to be. When you have SPURS making those overlapping runs, when you've got Mason Mount making those underlapping runs time and time again, this was just freeing up space for Ziyech to have the license to run more in field, to take shots, which he did a lot against Tottenham. We saw this dribbling ability back on show as well too. The nice little step overs to cut inside to free up even more space and danger. And we know that in that right half space position, when he plays those lofted through balls from those areas, you guys, honestly, you see him at his creative best. I mean, let's analyze the goal, which really sums up the threat that Ziyech can bring in the team. Now, massive credit goes to Hudson-Odoi. He took responsibility in the second half, created that opening for himself with some great strength and skill, you know, driving down through that left-sided channel, cutting inside, and then the most important thing were the runs made from Mason Mount and from SPURS too, with Aspi being the late overload down the right hand side to just, you know, draw the attention away to free up more space for Ziyech, and of course the infield run Mason Mount made to take men out from that position. Ziyech in those areas has the ability to score goals from there. We've seen it time and time again during his days at Ajax, and the thing is that he's not able to fully display his skill set if he is playing down the opposite side on the left, or if he's playing too close to the channels where there's not enough movement around him or near him, and where he's constantly forced to play with his back to goal. This is not the most effective way of using him, and even Tuchel himself admitted that the right hand side is probably Ziyech's best position. You guys know that I've been very patient with Ziyech. You know my reasoning for literally over 12 months right now. He has not been playing in his best position. Now that a lot of you guys got another glimpse of what Ziyech can do, being that free man down that right hand side, I guess my question now is Tuchel understanding now that he has to bring our attacking players into the game more? And the best way in doing that is playing them in their best positions and allowing them to have a greater responsibility in the team. I hope this is the start of new things to come. We definitely have the attacking players in the squad already that can make that difference. However, the system has been coming before them. I've always said we need to find a better balance, and yesterday you guys seen how we played that system. Let's hope that Tuchel now uses more of a back four system. Next, it's time to discuss Thomas Tuchel yet again. Another impressive win over Antonio Conte, beating this guy 3 times in the space of a month and quite comfortably in every single game. Why did we even use a 4-1-4-1? Well, as Tuchel said, when we played against Tottenham at home in the first leg, in the second half when they switched to a midfield 3, they started to get more opportunities and grow more into the game. I guess Tuchel wanted to keep some of that surprise factor tactically, and in that first leg game, we actually ended the game using a 4-1-4-1 too. So this was definitely the right tactical approach to use. yesterday. And it was nice to see Tuchel using one of his most offensive lineups and systems in a very long time. I felt yesterday we looked very vertical with how you were playing. When you constantly have those runs being made all the time to split defenses open, to shift blocks, to create spaces, you're only creating more 1v1 opportunities for your skilled key players to get in the game and actually influence it. I love that offensively we were creating a lot of nice opportunities, especially from cutback crosses, which was nice to see make a return. I felt like we should be a lot more effective out wide from these positions and opportunities. But again, if players are too static, if there isn't enough movement being made, if we're not dynamic enough, the opposition team has more encouragement to just drop deeper, which means that there's just too many opposition defenders in their books for those types of crosses to make sense. Now, one critique that I've had of Tuchel has been the fact that I feel like he can be a bit too textbook at times. When we play as a team, it's more the system that gets the wins compared to the actual players on the field making the decisive actions and moments to win us the games. And I feel like every top team, you must have that balance of both. You have to have the system, which is the foundations, the skeletal structure for the team to rely upon. At the same time, you need to allow the players to be able to express themselves fully when playing in systems like this. And that's why we saw special moments like Ziyech with that outstanding goal, which he wouldn't have scored if he was playing down the left-hand side. And that's why XG was quite good against Spurs as well too. In that second half, we essentially doubled it. So I hope we see more of this team. And for me, the added bonus and benefit is the fact that now that this team has had a lot of experience over the past 12 months playing in a back three system, working on their tactical responsibilities, defensive positioning, team press, team shape, I feel like this now gives us an even bigger edge now when it comes to transitioning to a back four system. As we're seeing in that attacking phase and that defensive phase, in attack, the guys boom forward, and in defending, we revert back to a back five because players like your Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi are now a lot more comfortable defending in those wide areas. Making us more flexible formation-wise is only going to give us more of that tactical advantage when it comes to one day competing seriously for the Premier League. And just imagine when Tuchel can have his main fullbacks back in his team, and if a big boy DM comes in the summer as well too, I think you guys can start to see the potential vision that we have on our hands right now, playing with a back 4 and 3 in midfield. It's now tactical analysis time, and let's examine how our 4-1-4-1 system beat Spurs in last night's game. Looking at our average positioning and the heat maps in yesterday's game, it's quite clear that our main source of attacks were down the right hand sides, creating the overload in that area, which allow for that switch ball wides to help find a free Hudson-Odoi where you have the opportunity to go 1v1 against his man. Of course, there's someone like Jorginho as well too, who was never marked or pressed really at all in the entire game. When he's your constant free option in the middle, he just allows for that ball circulation and allows us to move the ball from right to left and left to right. Two players who were incredibly key in helping us get the win yesterday was Mason Mount and Mateo Kovacic. Now let's examine these inner channels on the field, you guys, as these were the main areas of influence in which Mason Mount and Kovacic were able to help us create those overloads in those areas, occupying the Spurs players as well too, especially their fullbacks, of course, and their wide men as well too. I'm going to give you guys a demonstration of a typical attacking pattern which allowed us to play with more intensity, with more verticality as well too, and of course, get those important 5v4s against Tottenham. Now, Mount and Kovacic made a ton of underlapping runs in these channels inside here. Making these runs allowed us to penetrate the spaces inside the Spurs fullbacks, and this was very key when it came to attracting their attention, as we can see here. This then freed spaces for your Ziyech and your Hudson-Odoi. And once those underlapping runs were made, of course, this was cue then for your Ziyech and your Hudson-Odoi to then attack the spaces in behind, essentially. And with the runs being made to really drag that Spurs defense, this created a ton of options for Ziyech to have the ability to play passes, of course, in behind, or most importantly, come into these positions here himself, where he could have strikes and goal, play lofted through balls over the top, or of course, switch the play to the opposite flank to find Hudson-Odoi. So in that sense, looking at average attacking positions, a lot of times Kovacic and Mount were actually becoming the wide options down either flank, allowing Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech to, play more inside the channels, which is their best position, free up spaces for them out wide, let them roam in fields and let them express themselves, allowing them to show the full extent of their attacking abilities. Now, as I stressed earlier, the game plan was to create those wide overloads down either flank. Naturally, as the game was going on, Sessignon, Doherty, they were tracked with the responsibility, of course, having to drop deeper as well too, to help Spurs out defensively, to help defend their blocks. When this happened, and when we had the ball in Spurs' half, we kind of made more of a makeshift back three, as we tend to see quite a lot of times. Of course, Silva, Rudiger, Sarr, helping create those 3v2s against Spurs' attacking strike force. And then Azpilicueta would then have the opportunity and ability to then make more overlapping runs out wide, which would then take the attention of players like Sessignon, for example. And by doing that, of course, it helped create even more free space for our key man in yesterday's game, in Ziyech. So in a sense, we were constantly looking to create like this little diamond pattern shape down the flanks. So the passing moves would look kind of like this. Of course, Aspi making that overlapping run, Mount making that run inside the channels too, and then Ziyech having the freedom to be able to cut inside if he wants, go on the outsides, or of course move the ball back to someone like Jorginho. It was these wide overloads in particular which really allowed us to disrupt Spurs' defensive shape. Mount and Korver were also key when it came to the build-up phase in our attack as well too. Tottenham, not really a team that looked to press aggressively under Antonio Conte. Instead, their main source of defending was to actually screen passes into Jorginho. Of course, this wasn't as effective at times though. And one way in which we were able to play through that, of course, was just spreading our back four. And both Mount and Korver were comfortable dropping deeper into those channels to help create an overload depending on where the ball is. Of course, if the ball's on the right hand side, Mount would drop deeper to be another passing option for Jorginho, and vice versa with Kovacic as well too. I did notice one thing though, that Mount played more of like an offensive role compared to Korver. Lots of forward runs, overloads, underloads, etc, etc. And Korver had more of a job to, drop a bit deeper at times to help create a two midfield with Jorginho when we had to defend. So essentially, we're very effective in all key moments of the game, hence us getting the win over Tottenham. Now for me, I really like how Tuchel uses Korver and Mason Mount. I always find that when you have players comfortable receiving in the half spaces, especially players like them that were constantly receiving with half turns on the outside, or Spurs midfield players over here too, it just allows us to turn defense into attack a lot quicker and a lot faster. I felt like we were very vertical because there were so many runs being made off the ball all the time, because players are being freed left, right and centre as well too. And I just found that we played very vertically yesterday, and I think due to all the supporting movement off the ball, you've got Azpilicueta making his overlapping runs at times as well too. You've got Mason Mount dragging Spurs players here, dragging them there, and of course getting inside the box too as well. And of course, when you have players like Ziyech, you need to create that space for them to give them the full creative license to do what they want. So you guys, this was the key tactical benefit to our 4-1-4-1 system. And now I want to end things by talking about Mason Mount. For me, one of our best players on the field yesterday, as I explained in the tactical part of this video, his willingness to press, run those inner channels as well too, to create those overloads as well. The desire was showing in pressuring the opposition, going for his 50-50s as well too. And the great effect he was bringing, majestic set piece plays time and time again. 5 out of 9 crosses, very good, very accurate. And we saw like a full display of Mason Mount's dead ball abilities yesterday, left hand side, right hand side, different techniques as well too. For me, Mount is really stepping up a lot this season, and I think with him being able to play a more box-to-box role, which just allows him to get more involved in the game and really just show off his entire skill set in Arsenal, for me, is his long-term position. Mount has that ability to be a space investigator. He knows when to create the overloads. He has that attacking threat too. He can take shots outside the box. He can time his run inside the box as well too. And he can skip past his man too to free up space to take shots as well. And don't get me started on his creativity from dead balls, set pieces, of course, and just with his general passing from open play as well. Yesterday was his 20th Premier League assist since he made his debut in that 19-20 season, and I feel like if he was to play more consistently in this role he was using yesterday, we'll only see more of the good things that Mount can bring to the team. You know, it's the way that Mount crosses the ball that I absolutely love. We know that he likes to connect with the top part of his foot just to make that contact with the valve of the ball, and that's why I like his crosses always dip in those final moments. I think from set pieces in particular, from corners, this is why our centre backs have a greater chance at scoring, because that type of cross away from goal that dips gives more advantage to a defender that is running to attack the spaces from deep, which means that you just have bigger force when it comes to winning that aerial duel. For me, this was an outstanding performance from Mason Mount, and let's hope we get to see more of this dynamic Mount. But anyway, you guys, regardless, that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Share your thoughts and opinions below. How did you find this new formation change, and is this the type of system that you want to see more of now? Or do you feel like back three is still our bread and butter? Let us all know below. But on that note, I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.